So mother as a matter is like matahari.
Sorry, that's Malay. We're just about, for those listening to the recording, we've just started and we're going to look at matanu. And I was explaining that matta meaning measure, and then in comes one of our numbers, says no, it means mother. Okay, now it shows the supreme importance of vowel length and the doubling of consonants.
Don't forget the doubling.
So the word for a mother is mata. And the word for measure is matta. This gives you a prime example. So mata, it's the same throughout so many of the Indo-European languages. Sorry? Yes, okay, thank you, Iris. So mata, now matta is from the root ma, to measure. Oops. In fact, in Greek, it comes into Greek as me. Quite a few things you find are in Sanskrit and Pali and in Greek, which is why in Greek we get metron, which means a meter, therefore a measure. In fact, our word meter, meaning a measure of length, also meter in poetry, is from the Greek, but which is the same origin as the ma. Now, if you look at Sanskrit, if you add the suffix tra, the tra ending often has a meaning of a tool or a means for doing something, either tra or itra is added to the end. So kan means to dig, kanitra is a spade, and kan means to stretch. Stretch, tan, tendere, tenuous, a tent is a stretch, so it comes into Latin as tent. Then so a tantra is a stretching tool, a loom.
Tantra is a stretching tool.
It's a stretching tool originally, a tantra. In fact, it comes into English as thin, so the Latin comes as tenuous, and into English as thin. And for example, a man is a mind, a mantra is a mind tool. Tantra and mantra, they're as simple as that, a stretching tool and a mind tool. So a mantra is a measure.
So does metronome, which is a measure of your beat, come from that as well?
It does indeed, yes it does. Now, mantra in Sanskrit, now we're going to see who's been paying attention. What is, you can automatically, predictably say if the Sanskrit is matra, what's it going to be in Pali?
Matter. Double T, yeah. Double T.
Double T.
Double T. What else?
Not a long
the
vowel.
vowel gets shorter.
It does. Good. Gold star, Iris. So what happens is the tr becomes a double T, the art stays, but it becomes short because in most cases, after a few anomalies, but in most cases, a Pali doesn't like doesn't like a long vowel before a doubled letter. Sanskrit's fine with it. Matra. Not a problem in Sanskrit. So matta. Now, so matta means a measure. If you are mattanu, means you are a measure knower. In other words, you do things in moderation. You know how far to go. It's often used, for example, in respect of the wise ruler who imposes punishments. He's mattanu. He doesn't impose vindictive, excessive punishments. When the bhikkhu is consuming a meal and he's been offered a huge amount by the laity, a great feast. He will be matanyu. In other words, it's all been given to him, but it doesn't mean he guzzles the whole lot down. He's got to be matanyu.
What's the you bit? Is that, are you coming to that? Sorry.
I am.
Yeah, sorry.
I jumped ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So and katanyu, the subject. Okay, let me explain. We have the root nya, meaning to know. And that's the same one that comes into English as know. The j became a k, and the na became no. So English know is directly cognate with the Sanskrit Vedic nya. And in Pali, what happens is that the j drops off. So, for example, knowledge is jnana, and in Pali, it's jnana. Now, when a verb root, when a root like nya, da, ba, ending in a long a, is the last member of a compound, the a shortens. So, for instance, dana means giving, and the root da is to give. So, dana da means dana giving, generous person. In Sanskrit, you have sarva, everything, all knowing, omniscient, sarvajna. Now notice that the root vowel is a long a, but here we have it as the final member of a compound, sarvajna. So it becomes short.
So it means knowing.
This means all knowing.
So that the nya bit is the knowing bit.
Is the knowing bit. Now, in Pali, this suffix, this nya in Sanskrit would be nya in Pali, but sometimes in Pali you can comes new, which you don't have in Sanskrit, but that is a more emphatic form, like a characterized by one's profound knowledge of something. So if you matanyu, you are a knower of the measure.
But there it is a long vowel.
Matanyu, it becomes new. It does, yes. Yeah. I think is there a longer than a short vowel? I can't quite remember. I don't think so if the word stands on its own. Matanyu. If you put a ta on the end of it, katanyuta, gratitude. Anyway, on its own, it's a long U. Now, where you get this letter nya, if it's preceded by a vowel in Pali, it's always doubled. So you get that accounts, for example, with jnana. The reason it's doubled is because this nya actually normally is the Palified form of the consonant clustered nya, so it wants to double itself. As soon as a vowel comes in front of it, that's the opportunity. So jnana on its own, with a single nya, vinyana.
Is it because of the sound or just the form of the language somehow? Is it?
It's kind of a combination, but if I were forced to give a single limb answer, as it were, is because in Sanskrit it's a consonant cluster, nya.
Yeah.
And a consonant cluster will normally resolve into a doubled, like matra, matta. This nya resolves into a nya, which will double itself if it's allowed to, with a vowel in front of it. So it only becomes single if it stands at the beginning of a word.
So mata new,
Matanu, measure knower.
measure
The
no.
new. Normally you'd expect to see matanya, but it becomes matanu because in Pali, matanu, like it almost like an emphatic long oo instead of
It's an interesting concept though, isn't it? A measure knower.
a measure knower.
Is it referring to a
what-
person who's like that, or
It is, and it's a moral quality. It's a laudable moral quality. You know the measure. But to do something, you're allowed to do something, but you know when to stop. You know the
I
correct.
don't think
measure.
we've got a word for that, have we?
There is actually a job title, and that's weight and measures man. And in engineering, and it was very much used. One of the uses for it was I don't think they exist anymore, but 70s, maybe 80s, they went round and they clocked people doing a job, particularly in mass production, automotive industry, etc. And they clocked them and they were hated.
Time and motion, they called it, didn't they?
So, yes, but it was also measure. So
Time and measure, yeah. Yes, I was just funny enough, I was reading about that this evening in that book. But anyway, that's a digression. But I was just trying to think, the 4,000 weeks.
The 4,000
And
weeks.
it was talking about measuring time, that's why, in a way, this came up. But there was with the Industrial Revolution, that time became a unit of work or a unit of production. Then that was linked to time, and then it was then hourly rates, and some employers claimed they were stolen if the production didn't. The workers were stealing from them if they didn't produce the right amount of products in the hours. And as you say, there were certain people who had the job to measure time, and so
they still existed when I started my apprenticeship and my work. So that was in the early 70s.
Yeah.
Actually, the most fun German inspection that I've read about was the special beer laws from centuries ago.
Yes. Yes.
And
They still exist. They're still in action.
and it was done because this beer inspector would go in like a waste management of beer quality. And he'd smear some beer on wood, and he'd sit on it with his lederhosen or whatever special apron he had. And the idea was, if the beer was the correct quality, it would kind of stick to the leather like a kind of, and if it didn't, the beer maker or beer seller would be in trouble.
Yes, it was watered down.
Watered down, but didn't stick.
I think the measurer now is a computer system, though, isn't it? Places like supermarkets and stuff, everything is clocked. The time of the interaction and everything.
But the scales still have to be manually calibrated each morning in the supermarket.
Over the weight, weighing your produce, that kind of by the Matanu, German inspector. So this how did we get on? I can't
Well, you said
remember.
you wanted to tell us what the word meant when we came in, because we were
did, but
talking about
I can't
hindrances, I think. I don't know whether it was to do with that,
remember.
but it's knowing the right measure
Knowing the right
for
measure.
oneself, isn't it? I think it was partly.
I can't remember how my mind even started, but it doesn't matter because it's all good stuff. Now you know Matanu and the suffix new. We've had earlier, I forget which verse. We have Katanuta. Look at verse 9. I must have explained this to you. Go back to verse 9. Last word of the first line, Katanuta. Because of the addition of the ta, the u is shortened to u Katanuta. And so if you are a Katanu, a kata, Sanskrit krita means done. So if you were katanu, you were a done knower. In other words, you recognize what has been done for you. It means grateful for people's acts of help, kindness, giving to you. So if you are grateful in that way, you are literally a knower recognizer, a done recognizer, recognizer of what has been done for you. So it can be matanu or katanu. And if you look at this last word, first line, verse 9, you see again that nya is doubled. Katanyuta. So back to where we were. Yeah, here we are. I think we finished verse 9 last time. I think we did.
I think so too. I think we did as well.
Okay, right. So verse 10 then. Kanti chasu vachasata samananam chatasamam kalena dhammasa kacha etam mangalam tamam. So kanti, normally, in the previous verse, you remember we had arati and virati with the final e lengthened in both cases for the sake of the meter, but irregularly in looking at the pure grammar of the language. Normally we say kanti, meaning patience, but it's been lengthened to kanti here irregularly for the meter. In Sanskrit, it is kshanti. So uksham. It's usually translated as just the verb, kshamati, to be patient. It's usually translated as patience, but it's got a more specific meaning than that. There's an entire chapter in the Bodhicaryavatara, for example, on patience. But it's patience specifically in more of our English sense of long suffering, like putting up with what's being done to you, like being slow to anger, not immediately reacting with anger or aggression or irritation or whatever. It's the idea of that, just not easily roused up to anger by what's being done to you is the essential meaning of that word. And I'll just give you this, it makes a verbal noun. The final M, it makes a verbal noun by the addition of a T. So as you'd expect, the M becomes an N before the T. But interestingly, it lengthens its vowel, shanti, in exactly the same way as the root sham, meaning, you know the root sham, don't you?
Sham, with an m, not n. Sham, sham, yeah.
Well, we do what in
Shamatha,
Sanskrit is
isn't
known as shamatha, but
Yeah.
in Pali it's known as samatha, within these walls. And that means
Together or complete one?
no, that's with a s, not a sh. Okay, in Pali, anything that has a sh in Sanskrit becomes a s in Pali because Pali doesn't have the sh. But this is different. In the one with that means together or complete is and always has been as a word a s. It can be confusing that you can get homonyms between Sanskrit and Pali there. I mean, normally you know from the context which one it is, but it can get confusing. in Sanskrit, that confusion wouldn't exist because they are different sounds. Anyway, sham, meaning to be peaceful. Sham becomes kshanti. So sham becomes shanti. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. That is peace. It's just this lengthening of the in roots that have a matha. Sham shanti, sham shanti. So this shanti in Sanskrit, we can predict what it's going to be in Pali. So the ksha will usually become a k. The rest remains the same. Say the long will shorten itself before a consonant cluster. So that gives us the kanti. And there's the verb kamati, to be forbearing, to be long-suffering, also to mean forgive. But again, that we don't want to tie it down to a translation. We have in our confession of faults that we chant here. I've written it to you, see halfway down the page of notes. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang chayam kamame bhante. So that's that verb kama. And it's the ones that I've done in the notes.
In the italics. So that's for the monks, isn't it? The confession of faults.
I think
Is it for everyone?
do we do it here?
We
do it.
I've done it before. I did it before I left.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So before you left, well,
Thailand.
you did that kamame bhante.
But and you prefix it with another word, which either means you're a teacher, and it depends on their level, I think. Is it?
Okay, so the last word bhante, depending on who you're addressing it to.
The very first word, yeah, or kamatano. I can't remember what it is now, James. But the very first word, or in the first, before you say this, you address him or her, and it's and you give them a title. So
depending on their own, as it were,
status.
ranking.
Important to me because I'd used the highest title I could use, and he said no, better to use, and then he gave me a different title. He said this title is usually reserved for the highest people, and they're usually dead. He said I'm not dead yet, so better to use this other word. Sort of.
And so what is the confession of faults then?
Sorry to. In English, when I've done it in English, please could you forgive me for anything that I've done through body, speech, or mind.
Yes.
So anything that I've done, anything that I've said, or anything that I've even thought that might not have been quite right.
So you're asking him to forgive you, or just be forgiven, sort of.
Good question. Actually.
I've come across it where when a group was together, a sangha, for a retreat or whatever else, and at the end they all encountered and said it together.
Yeah, to ask each other.
Yeah.
I've never come across it, except at a funeral that I understand both prior to and during that the person, if they're Buddhist, it's part of that, they seek out people they've known. This is something that's happened to me. And really say, if I've offended you in any way at all, please forgive me. And then at the funeral too, that they say to all the assembled people, has anyone offended anybody? I don't know, I'm just interested in it, that it's all in this context. Because the notion of confession, of course, if you're a Catholic, has sort of got other implications, it's sort of a sacrament and so on.
I don't think it's meant in the form of a confession.
No.
It's just sort of to clear the air. We're going away now, we're parting.
Right.
So clearing the air, if anything I've done inadvertently.
Okay, inadvertently, I think is that's the point, without meaning to as well,
The
yeah.
very first time that I went to Thailand, and you were there, right?
Yeah.
The very first time I went out there on pilgrimage, and
Yeah.
we went to the Buddha Metta village, you know,
Yes,
in
oh, yes,
Samoa.
yeah.
And the people there fed us, they took care of us, they gave us
Yeah.
blankets and bedding and stuff like this. And at the very end, they started to chatter to us in Thai. Of course, none of us understood what was going on. And the war translated. And he said, they're asking for forgiveness just in case there was anything that they.
But they didn't get right.
They've been looking
Wasn't
after you
cleaning
like
up,
that, then
yeah,
asking
that's
for
right.
forgiveness.
They
I
couldn't
was choked up when this was said.
Yeah, it wasn't right.
Amazing that they've taken care of us this way.
Yeah.
But the thing is, particularly with cultural difficulties, it is quite easy to put a foot wrong without ever intending.
Oh, I see, they might have not realised, might not have known what we
Certainly
wanted.
in Thailand.
Yeah.
Especially in
I see,
Thailand.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the words when you say it in English as well is anything that I've done, said, or
Yeah.
thought intentionally
Or unintentionally, that's right, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All my other sins of thought, word, and deed.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, yeah.
Now here in this phrase, which we just look at this one.
Okay.
Kayena vacha chittena pamadena, done by pamada. So it's done by heedlessness, or well, pamada we all know now. So what does this? Let's just look at this sentence here. Kama is a verb, and it can take a double accusative. You can kama a person for what that person has done. And we see the double accusative here. A chayang accusative, kama me is accusative. So we say, forgive me for what I have done, but in Pali, just and Sanskrit, it's saying, forgive me what I have done, the double accusative. So kama me, forgive me. Forgive me what? The achayam. This word achayam here, meaning a transgression.
I have to say that I've got a call from Rob Atkins. He's rang me 3 times, and there's a meeting tomorrow.
From
Rob Atkins.
Rob.
I think he wouldn't have rung 3 times.
I think you
I think I just better
probably
respond.
better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it normally. It's just that there's an important
Don't think it like that.
meeting tomorrow morning.
I've just forgotten to turn my
Sorry,
phone
I would
off.
not normally.
No, not to worry. I've forgotten to turn my phone on too. So this word achayam, pamadena katam chayam kamame. The achaya is a transgression. We've all got the root e, meaning to go now. And it makes a verbal noun in aya. Meaning going, and we've got our phrase vaya dhamma sankhara, which is vaya, because vaya in Pali means going apart, falling apart. Now suppose you put ati in front of it. Ati is a verbal prefix meaning over or across. The word for past, as in time past, is atita. And I'll explain why. It is the e makes it is a regular past participle. Ita. So ita means gone. Ati plus ita. Gone by, gone over, gone past, and that becomes atita. So atita means past. Just explaining,
Sorry,
Veronica,
yeah.
the root e, verbal noun aya, ati beyond, and the word for past is in time is past is ati ita, beyond gone becomes atita. And we have the past, in English we tend to say past, present and future. In Pali they talk about past, future and present. Atita, anagata, pachupanna. You hear it on Sunday. So you were
Yes,
here, of course.
I
That was when I spoke Atita and Agata Pachupanna. Rob was talking at that time. I was talking about the meaning of Pachupanna. Anyway,
Yes.
Atita is gone by, gone
I'm not
past.
sure, gone past, we're talking about what's gone past, is in the middle between past and future.
Is the Pachupanna what's kind of.
And what you said, it's really not past, it's what's gone before.
So this Atita means past, and it makes a verbal noun. This is the participial, the adjectival form. It makes in Sanskrit, it is atiaya becomes atyaya in Sanskrit. You get a word ending in an e, and the next one, sorry, the next one begins in an a. So ati ends in an e, the next one begins in an a. The final e becomes a ya, so atyaya. So atyaya in Sanskrit automatically becomes achaya in Pali. What's the past tense got to do with a transgression? Something that has gone by as past. Also, if you transgress, you step over something. It's the meaning of transgression. Overstepping, stepping across, crossing the line. So this atita and atyayat has a double meaning, either past time or overstepping a line, meaning a transgression. So here, achayam kamame means kamame, forgive me, achayam, the transgression. Now, maya katam achayam, by me done transgression, means forgive the transgression committed by me.
Right.
And the transgression specifically done in what way? Pamadena, by pamada, by this heedlessness, by the lack of pamada. And the first three words in this line, kayena, is the instrumental of kaya, meaning body. So it's a transgression done by a physical act, vacha, by speech, chittena, by chitta, by an act of the mind. So body, speech, and thought. I probably better not pause to explain in full why vacha is an instrumental, but it's a survival from Sanskrit. We normally would expect to see vachena in Pali as a survival from Sanskrit. So here we are. So kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katam, by pramada, by me done, achayam, fault, kamame bante, forgive me, bante. So back to the verse itself. So were there any queries arising out of that?
I'm just trying to get a sense of the meaning of the.
So the meaning of the
Yeah.
confession one that we've just
Yeah, yeah, the whole meaning together.
of
somehow.
kayena vacha
Yes,
chittena
yes.
pamadena maya katam achayam kamame bante. Okay. In fact, what I will do, I will reorder those words in English, in the same order as an English sentence. So, kamame bante, achayam katam me, pamadena, kayena vacha chittena. So, kama me bante, forgive me bante, Achayam, the transgression, Katang Maya, done by me, Pamadena, through heedlessness,
Heedlessness.
Gayena Vacha Chitena, by body, by speech, by thought.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Is that clearer?
Yes,
Because
yes,
we all
yes,
agree.
yes, yes.
So many of these Pali and Sanskrit sentences, when you just reorder the words in an English word, or you, that's really. So back to our verse, Kantija Suvachasata Samananam Javasamam. So Suvachasata. In the first line of the Karaniya Sutta,
Yeah.
Suvacho is also a name of the, it's used as a name as well. Did you know the monk called Suvacho?
No, no.
He was
Mhm.
a rather naughty Danish monk, and he was in Devon.
Yeah.
He left the order, and I think rather right, maybe he should never have been in it. Anyway, terribly nice fellow, but there it is. So Suvacho, so Vacha means speech. Suvacho is often translated as speaking nicely. The prefix su, meaning anything that's good or lovely or right, laudable is su. Suvacho then often is translated as speaking well, but actually either it's a mistranslation or it's a very, very partial and incomplete translation, because this prefix su can also have the meaning of easy. So kara means doing. If something is sukara, it means easy. Su, to do, means easy to do. So suvacho, that's in the nominative form, suvacha in the stem form. And I think particularly the way it's used in the Karaniya Sutta, it's nothing to do with speaking nicely. It's very easy to speak nicely. But it means easy to talk to, in the sense that if he gets told off for doing something wrong, he doesn't get all huffy and angry about it. He willingly and gratefully accepts an admonition given to him. So suvacho means it's sometimes translated as obedient or readily accepting in instruction, particularly instruction when he's being told off for doing something wrong. So suvacho, it can have both meanings, speaking nicely and easy to speak to, in the sense of you won't get all huffy and angry if you feel actually you shouldn't be doing that.
I remember you explaining this before we came across it. It must have been on the Metta Sutta. It takes criticism lightly, or something. It was translated, or something like that. Takes criticism lightly or easily, maybe.
Takes it lightly might mean the slight.
Yeah, no, not quite.
He was willingly accepted, easy to talk to. So Suvachasata is an abstract noun from Suvacha.
That's the asa at the end there. Asata.
Actually, this is a bit of an anomalous word here, which I will briefly explain.
It's another concept, isn't it? That we don't quite have. It's like two in one, sort of easy to talk to because they accept criticism or admonition easily.
That's right.
It's a kind of
double.
You're
right. I mean, it is that concept rolled into one.
I suppose they don't flare up and go reactive.
Sorry, say again?
They don't flare up. Some people flare up. They're touchy, aren't they? Sort of.
Exactly that point. Yeah.
It's the opposite to that.
Now, am I going to explain the complexities of the This slightly enormous silver chasata. Why, let me have a little go anyway. Okay, so. This us, this in Sanskrit, there's a series of nouns that have a stem ending in us. Namas is one, so namaste. Nam to bend, namas a bending. We have chitan, chetas, cheto. Manas is another. Manas, namas, chetas. There are a few of them. Those are the three most common ones. Vachas is another. Speech. Cognate with the Latin vox and English word voice. Vach. Words that in Sanskrit end in an as tend to become an o in Pali, which is why we don't sing Namastasmai Bhagavate, but Namo Tassa Bhagavato. And that's where we get Subacho, Chassa Subacho. Now, you can make an abstract noun in more than one way in Sanskrit and Pali. Let me give you an example of kushala. I should have written this in red. Anyway, that's the Sanskrit form, and the Pali is kusala. Kusala, we'll know, often translated as skillful. Now, this is a very good example because we get the direct correspondence between Sanskrit and Pali. You can make an abstract noun. One of the ways of making an abstract noun is to vriddhi, strengthening of the first syllable, the vowel of the first syllable, and replacing the a by a ya. So kushala, let's look at the Sanskrit form now, and kushala automatically becomes kusala in Pali, the kshatasa. So kushala kaushalya, by vriddhi, by the strengthening of the first syllable. And you're going to love hearing this. I was thinking just within the last couple of days, I've really got to, all my students, the Buddhist Society and here, I'm really going to force them, if that's the right word. Yeah, it is the right word. Violently compel them to get to know the vowel gradations, Veda, Vaidya, and how they're used and why. And I thought, how am I going to set about this? And when I was flicking through my records, I discovered, to my delight, I've already done a video or two on this very subject that everyone is going to have to watch. I'm just going to prepare some more written material to go with it. And one of the things that this is, it happens the whole time. The vriddhi means strengthening. The means guna strengthening, to o, vriddhi strengthening, o to au. You can see the strengthening of the vowel. So kushala kaushalya. So the final a becomes a ya. So kaushalya means skillfulness. What happens to kaushalya in Pali? Well, you should all be saying that. It's predictable. It is exactly predictable. Except you may not remember the one point, which is that there is no au in Pali. Everything that is an o, the Pali equivalent of an au is just an o. So what happens to kaushalya in Pali? It's predictable and it follows exact rules.
Does it alter one of the vowels there? Instead of the is it an O?
Well, there's no owl,
Yeah.
so it just becomes an O.
Yeah.
You'll find this word, so O. What happens next? What happens to the sh?
Oh,
Double
so,
S,
so,
double S.
No, a single S.
single F.
A single, because
Oh, I see, yeah, we're
the,
going down, yeah.
there's nothing that will cause it to be doubled here. It's a single
Cool.
consonant with a vowel on each side. What happens to the final alya?
Oh,
LA, isn't it?
okay.
Coast.
A double L.
Double.
So it's entirely predictable that Kaushalya in Sanskrit becomes Kosala in Pali.
Because there are two vowels there, so
And that
it
makes-
turns into a double,
Two
same as
consonants.
previously.
So it's the two consonants, you mean?
Sorry, yes.
It's the combination of two disparate consonants,
Mm.
which Pali, as we know, tends to avoid. You double the stronger one, and the l is regarded as stronger than the so Kosala.
So that makes it an abstract noun then, because you have the word kusala a lot, akusala.
We do.
But is that
Kusala,
an adjective?
kusala is an adjective.
Yeah, right.
It's also used as a
I
noun,
know,
that
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kusala, but this specifically
Is an abstract
kusala
noun, which
is
means
skillfulness, the quality of being
Yeah,
skillful.
right. Right.
And this is much less common than
Kusala.
kusala, but you do find it kusala.
Mm.
Now
Mhm.
let's apply this rule to this superchas. So superchas, the quality of being easy to talk to. What happens?
become a noun.
Superchasya.
So that's the
This
person.
is Sanskrit. So
Mm.
superchas, sovachasya.
Mm.
By the way, the a changes to a ya,
Mm.
and if the final letter of the stem form is a consonant, you just add ya. That's it. Superchas, sovachasya. Now,
Mhm.
what happens? I'm going to ask you specifically, what happens to convert by phonetic notation sovachasya into Pali? And there are no tricks there, everything is predictable and regular.
Mm. So what do we have to get? Change.
So Angie, you have the floor.
I don't know.
Well,
So the vowel change.
sorry, I have made a silly mistake.
Should be an
My,
O.
my apologies. It should be sovachasya. My mistake.
Okay.
So this is
Yeah.
no.
So that's it.
Sovachasya.
We've got S-O.
So that's
SOV, correct so far.
So, chassa,
Exactly.
Just, is it a double C or?
double
Double
S
S.
at
Double S.
the end.
Okay, it's a single ch because it's just
Bunch of-
there's nothing to double it. There's a single letter in Sanskrit with a constant, a vowel on each side. But the asya becomes asa, so
So
The
that's-
S
vachasa.
is stronger,
So Chassa.
the S is stronger.
The S is stronger because the
Chassa.
Pali doesn't like the asya becomes
Mm.
asa.
So the Chassa.
As in Sanskrit, of him or of that is tasya. In Pali, tassa. Namo tassa. Bhagavad would be tasya in Sanskrit.
So is the C, so in the Sanskrit, is the C a k sound or a ch sound? And then
It's a ch.
ch in
Or it's a
both.
ch. And if as you know, both sounds exist.
Yeah.
For the k sound in Sanskrit Pali, we always write it with a k in Roman script. The ch sound is simply a spelling convention.
Mm.
The ch sound we always write with the c.
Mm.
So sovachasa therefore means the quality of being easy to talk to, or sometimes translated as obedience. Now, if you look at it here, sovachasata, why is the da added? My answer to that is naughty poet needed an extra syllable. He was bending the rules. The ta is completely unnecessary and pleonastic.
Mm.
So he's done. There are two things now in that word that turned it into an abstract noun, and one was the vritti derivative, sovachassa in Pali, and also now completely unnecessarily the adding of the ta ending, which is cognate with the Latin itas, as in verity, mendacity, that ta. Pleonastic, unnecessary, slightly naughty. Okay, that's judgment on my part, which I don't apologize for, because I make it. And it's you just have to get used to it in Pali, constantly, not certainly little breakings of formal rules, which incidentally you tend to find in poetry a lot more than in prose. In prose, there's no need to break the rules because you're just saying what you need to say, and that's that. In poetry, you could fit the meter, number of syllables to the line, and all that kind of thing.
It's not the past tense, then the ta on the end, or the ta on the end, that corrected. It was quite like somebody who is open to be corrected as opposed to being correctable. So if somebody was correctable, then that would be kind of in the present, whereas this is talking about corrected, being corrected, open to being corrected, as opposed to being open to being correctable.
It's not a true past there, it's a passive. So
It's not a true past. So, I mean, well, and Angela said it is a passive participle.
Right.
And again, I think your mind has been swayed by the vocabulary that you're using in English, open to being corrected. Now, corrected in that context is a passive participle, but that's just the way we express it in English. In Pali, it's just suvacho, literally easy speak, meaning easy to speak to. So the actual correctable, the able ending doesn't exist there. In fact, the able ending, capable of being done, doable, the able ending, is the directly cognate in Latin is the abilis ending. And it's the avya and tavya ending in Sanskrit and tabba in Pali. So the one is tabba ending, which is one of the signs of the future passive participle, meaning to be done, requiring to be done, is cognate with the able in English. But I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. So, Kaltica, Suvachasata, Samananancha Dasanam. Dasanam means seeing. I think we've discussed this before. We have in from the root Drish, we have darshana. Darshana in Sanskrit, dasana in Pali. In the modern India, you have darshan of a guru. You're just gathering round just to look at him, even if he says nothing. You're having darshan. In Hindi, it's pronounced the final darshan of the guru. And here, dasanam is used in exactly that sense. Seeing, being with them. The seeing of samanas.
Is that like samaneras? I've just seen the similarity.
It's the same as samana and samanera. They're just alternative endings. It's from a root, actually, shram.
Samaneras are in the monasteries, they wear white.
Let me give you this one, shram.
So what are they like?
They're like novices, or
Right.
you know, in
So-
Amavaratian places, you see these samaneras, but they're not ordained yet. I think they're training. That's right. The samaneras.
Yeah, they're not yet ordained.
Yeah.
In older times, among the Hindus, and indeed when the samana, the samanera is a specifically Buddhist usage. Samana, from that same root and with ultimately the same meaning, is just a word generally used in the Buddhist scripture and among the Hindus, meaning ascetic. It is one
Ascetic.
of one of the various
Yeah,
words
for an ascetic, yeah.
Tapaswin is another. And it's from the root shram, meaning to work arduously or to undergo hardship is the meaning of that word. So the meaning of a person who subjects himself willingly to that in Sanskrit is the shramana. And you all know by now what that automatically becomes in Pali. Okay, so you've got a word beginning with a shra in Sanskrit, which just resolves into a s in Pali, and so samana. And in the Buddhist scriptures, in the suttas, you often see the Buddha will be talking about samana brahmana, samanas and brahmans. He very often speaks about these wandering holy, O Kosalans, or whatever village or monkeys, you will hear these samana brahmana, these samanas and brahmans talking thus. So it's from the root, as I say, meaning exertion. Incidentally, just as we can make the past participle of it, we have sham, shanta, ksham, kshanta, also shram, shramta. The same phenomenon occurs there. So if something is arduous, it is shranta. Now, there is an entertaining ambiguity, triple ambiguity, if it can arise out of that, that I will explain after the tea break.
Good point there, well done there.
Okay. I'm just going to pause the recording.